Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Galaxy and welcome to today's video. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be going over a zero sniper build that largely utilizes crit damage. Now jumping in and starting off really quick, what we're going to be going over first is the gear. I left this first slot empty because I really think that one is kind of up to how you want to play. There's not really the exact set of weapons you have to make this work. I would definitely recommend the Amigo Sincero just because it is just so good. Here, let me walk over and shoot a dude. Okay, see what I mean? Next up, I do have the Grog and the Herald on. That's just for if I go down. I found that it was really hard for me to get a second wind just using snipers and trying to hip fire them and everything. So I have a Grog and a Herald on it just for mobs of enemies and for going down. Now the next thing on the list is going to be the B shield. Now, if you see, the amp damage of this one is 5.1, let's say 5.2 million. It's a lot closer to 5.2. And then Amigo Sincero is 7.5 million. So that's probably a good 80% extra damage on each shot with a fully charged B. So definitely would recommend that. Next up, we have the class mod and the Relic. Now, for these, I'm going to have two different things to use on this one. I don't know, two different sets you can use on this one. The first set is going to be the Legendary Killer with the Shadow of the Seraphs. See the extra shot chance up there? The 42%. And then the Legendary Killer, if you look at the bottom, has +5 to the Two Fang skill. If you don't know what the Two Fang skill, it is right here. It's every time you fire a gun, you have a chance to fire twice. And that chance is 60% with the +5 from that Relic. And then if you go over here to the Blood of the Seraphs, it's increased by an extra 42% for a total of 102% chance. So, you always shoot 2 shots. I definitely will recommend with this, shooting a little low on your first shot. Don't exactly aim on the head, because since you shoot 2 shots, the second one will have a little recoil left over from the first, and will raise your shot just a little bit. And then the second combo I would recommend would be the Legendary Killer mod, but with the Heart of the Ancients, which is the 42% sniper rifle damage and 42% fight for your lifetime. Now with this, you do have a ton more sniper rifle damage per shot. You just will only shoot doubles about 60% of the time, but it will save you a bit on ammo. And just a couple things I've been using for this first slot weapon here. I will give you guys some suggestions, but again, it's not going to matter too horribly much. Feel free to use whatever you think would be best. But a big one I would recommend would be getting a low-level Droog, just because these shoot incredibly fast. Let me get it out. Oh, come on, bro. So now the point of this, see, for one, it still kind of works if you have the B on, so you might want to take that B off. But if you see at the bottom, I have 10 stacks of critical Ascension, which I will show you guys here, which is scoring a critical hit with a sniper rifle increases your gun damage and critical hit damage with sniper rifles. This effect can stack up to 999 times. This stacks slowly decay if you haven't scored a critical hit in a while, and you get 6% critical hit damage per stack and 5% sniper rifle damage per stack. Now that meaning if you have a low-level Droog and your B isn't killing everybody, you can just stack up loads of critical Ascension stacks. The only thing is that it has to be with sniper rifles. If you switch off a sniper rifle, it will go away. But the strat here is to get quite a few headshots with the Droog, as many as you'd like to build up critical Ascension stacks, and then switch over to your Amigo Sincero, and you'll have loads of extra damage output on that. The next thing I will suggest is getting a Pimpernel of each element if you can, just because those are really good for using the Boar skill, which we will talk about in just a second, and the different elements will just be for the situational differences depending on who you're fighting. And if you're really feeling scandalous and would just like to use the Grog and the Herald, I do have a Sheriff's Badge here just in case. Now, being level 80 nowadays, we usually get to choose more skills than we don't. Now, instead of going through and explaining all the skills that we do have, I will go over the important ones, and then I will explain why I didn't choose the ones that we don't use. So we will start over here in the sniping tree. Definitely skip out on optics. It just increases your zoom with all gun types, which is honestly not useful whatsoever. And then we don't use one shot, one kill. The first shot fired from a fully loaded magazine deals increased damage. Now, by the time you get that up to 5, that should do 60% gun damage, I believe. I didn't really feel like one shot per clip was going to be useful enough to make a huge difference. I know it possibly could, depending on the setup you were trying to do, but I think for the most part, that's just going to be a much smaller bonus than it really seems. Then the next one we skipped was at 1 with the gun, which improves the accuracy of sniper rifles when shooting from the hip. Now, I think that's an obvious one, why we skipped that one. I know I mentioned the thing about being downed earlier and having trouble. Now, they already have pretty good accuracy, even the Amigos and Cero, and I don't think it's the accuracy that's the problem with trying to second wind yourself with a sniper rifle. It's the damage, and it's just not really there, so I went ahead and skipped it. Next one we skipped was Counter-Strike. After getting a hit, your next melee attack has a chance to deal massively increased damage. Now, this is one I was considering just putting 1 point into, so that way whenever we used, where's it at? The Legendary Hunter class mod, it would get actually a +6. And honestly, now that the more I think about it, I probably would do that. I would recommend putting 1 point into this, and maybe putting only 3 points into Rising Shot. The next one we skipped was Fearless, which is while your shield is depleted, you gain a bonus to gun damage and fire rate. Now, if we were using the Rough Rider, I would definitely suggest using this, but in this case, we will be trying to keep our shields, so it would not be wise to bank on losing something that we're trying to keep. So I went ahead and skipped Fearless. I also skipped Unforeseen, the one where your hologram explodes and does shock damage. First off, the damage isn't that great, and second off, it's just not going to be helpful. So I would save your points for other things. Next one we skipped was Iron Hand, which just increases your melee damage and maximum health. This one might also be worth doing a point in for the extra health, because I do believe that the class mod we were just talking about, yeah, adds a point into that. So if you'd like to do that, if you would like to use the Legendary Hunter, then definitely put a point into Iron Hand. We also skipped Grim and Follow Through. I'm going to talk about them together. They're both kill skills, and personally, I really don't like banking on kill skills. I think kill skills are hard to bank on. And if you have too many of them, your build can become really convoluted and very easy to mess up. And with that being said, with kill skills, Zero I think is very much a boss fighting character. And kill skills usually don't apply too horribly much into boss fights. I know there's some certain ones with little bobs, but even those don't last forever. So it wouldn't be very wise to waste 10 points into some kill skills that are more than likely not even going to be applicable. And we didn't even have enough points to make it down to Many Must Fall, but I wouldn't choose it even if we had. Just because, again, we're going for snipers, and the melee damage isn't the most important thing. Even though we did choose some, we had to, but it's not the most important. Now, for important skills that we did take that you really need, Bore is definitely one of them. I don't know who would choose to skip Bore, but you definitely should get it. If you don't know what Bore does, feel free to read that. It pretty much makes you a fucking badass. If you make it to the bottom of the tree, I definitely get Critical Ascension. That's going to be critical for the strat I was talking about with the Drew, building up those stacks of Critical Ascension for one huge shot at the very end. As you can see, it can stack up to 999 times, and you get 6% critical hit damage per stack. Which, if you take that all, like if you get the full 999 stacks, that's 6,000% critical hit damage, which is 60 times critical hit damage, which is pretty incredible. Another two super important ones are Two Fang, which is what I was talking about with the Seraph Relic, that gives you the 42% extra shot chance. And then also definitely get the kunai. It's only 1 point, and you can throw that in your Deception without breaking it. And it also can apply Death Mark, which is up here, which we already have. And marked targets take 80% additional damage from all sources. So when you go into Deception, throw your kunai at something. If it marks it for death, you can double shot it using the Two Fang. So yeah, definitely just pop your kunai and try to death mark as much stuff as you can. Now over here in the Bloodshed tree, nothing is honestly that critical. I would definitely recommend getting at least 1 point into Iron Hand, which I need to do, which I will after the video, so that your Legendary Hunter Relic can benefit from this. And then also get the Be Like the Water, which shooting an enemy increases the damage of your next melee attack. So what you'll do is if you're close to an enemy, you will melee him, pop Deception, throw your kunai at him, back away, and then take a headshot. And that is going to do incredible damage to everybody you fight. Nothing else is really super important. These are just melee skills that I chose to get down to Like the Wind, which is while moving, you deal increased melee and gun damage. Now, the melee damage isn't super important, but the gun damage is awesome, meaning that if you are strafing while you're in Deception with a target marked, then you are going to do hella damage to that fool. And guys, that is going to wrap it up for all of the gear and skills that I use. Anyway, dudes, I will show you guys some combat footage of it now on screen while I'm doing our outro. I would like to say thank you very much for stopping by and watching the video. Be sure to drop a like on the video for me because I do so much love attention. And don't forget to subscribe for more Borderlands stuff every day. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.